The company sells bottles of vitamin capsules. The graph and table show the linear relationship between the cost per capsule in cents and the number of bottles ordered. So we were given a graph and a table. Let's read our graph. The x-axis is the number of bottles, and as our bottles increase, look at the cost, which is our y. As we go up in the bottles, it looks like our cost is decreasing. So the number of bottles you get makes the cost decrease, and that same value is represented over here. The cost of one bottle was at 65. The cost of 8 bottles is down here at 30. So we're going to look at two different ways to find slope and y-intercept. My question is asking for the slope and y-intercept of the line that models this situation. If we were only given a graph, let's look at how we can do rise over run here. Rise is the top number. Our slope can be turned into a fraction, and we can use rise over run to help us remember this fraction. The top number will be how much we move up and down. The bottom number will be how much we move side to side between two pretty points. So we're going to pick two pretty points on this graph. So that means where all four corners meet. We don't want to use this one here because you see it's in the middle of a box. Why don't we pick these 2 points here? We've got the point at 60 and 50. We've already noted that it looks like our graph is going down. As we read from left to right, it is a negative slope. So I know my answer must be negative. The next question I want to ask myself is, what is this graph counting by? Well, on my x-axis, it's counting by ones. Each box is worth 1. On my y-axis, however, it's going up by tens, 10, 20, 30. So I know as I move up and down, I'm going to be counting by tens. So let's look at the rise and run. I'm going down for this one because I know my graph is negative. I'm going down one box. That is worth 10. I'm counting by tens here. How many do I go over to get from this pretty point to this pretty point? Well, I'm going over 2 boxes, which is actually worth 2 units. So my slope here as a fraction is negative 10 divided by 2. And I know that 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my slope here is negative 5. To find the y-intercept, we know the y-intercept is where this line would cross the y-axis. Now this one's a little bit more difficult to see on the graph, but I know my slope is going down by 5 each one. There should be a dot. I'm going down by 5, and it would make a perfect line up through here. That was not a perfect line, so I'm going to erase that. But if I was to move backwards and go up 5, if I'm at 65, I'm going to go backwards, my 0 would be 70. So for 0 bottles, the cost here is 70. So I know the y-intercept, they're asking for it written as an ordered pair, which is always x comma y. The x value for a y-intercept is always 0. That's a trick question because this will never change. The y-intercept is always going to have an x value of 0. And we discovered that the y value would be 70. Now, if you're like most students and you just want to plug this into the calculator and let it do all of the mathy math for you, I'm going to show you that as well. So let's look at this table. We're going to add a table in Desmos. I only need 2 pretty points. So let's start with these first 2 points. I've got 1 and 65, 2, 60. These are also points that were on my graph here. I could have pulled them off the graph. It just gave it to us in a table. Now the one thing I do have to remember is the y1 squiggly. Then mx, I did that incorrectly. y1 squiggly mx1 plus b. This is the Desmos tool that will tell you what the parameters are down here. The parameters of this, m is my slope, always, and b is that y-intercept. So don't even have to do any of that math. It tells me the slope for this table is -5 and the y-intercept is 70. You will have to know that it is 0, 70. if you are asked to write it as an ordered pair. And it does graph this line for us. You can see that up here, these dots on this graph. So that's my slope and y-intercept. That's finding it from a graph or from a table or from two pretty points off of a graph. I hope this is helpful.